We are back.
Whoa. Hey, Peter. Are we back?
We're back. And Nick, this week, we did it again.
Have we got a real juicy one this week?
We did it again. And not only that, Nick, we caught some fire this last week. We caught some fire with clips.
All right.
Yep.
I knew it.
Yeah. We struck out the week prior. I'm not going to lie. We struck out the week prior with some of our views and clips. But this week, Nick, we did it again. 23,000 views in one of our clips.
Oh, man, that's a lot of folks.
Breaking the internet.
Sorry.
That's right. Spotify, back on the table. Want to negotiate with us. All the brand deals are trying to do deals with us. All right? We're talking Hims. We're talking Blue Chew. We're talking Fleshlight.
Fleshlight is my dream sponsor.
Yep. They sent me some samples. I approve.
I love your product. All my family uses it. Just want to get on the inside, you know?
That's it. We've got a great episode. We've got some of the newest AI news to talk about. If you haven't seen this before, or if you're listening, we talk about topics. We wrap it up in about a half hour, 45 minutes, talk about the greatest topics, and then we give our takes on it. Make sure you're updated and informed. He gives his take as an entrepreneur with successful exits. I give my take being in big tech and having career growth there. And we have fun with it. Which is what makes us good.
That's the best part, right?
That people watch.
Yeah.
That, and because of our hair, too.
I gave myself a haircut.
You gave yourself a haircut?
Oh, yeah. I learned a couple years ago that the entire world has been taken advantage of by big hair. You can cut your own.
You can cut your own hair?
Yeah. For years, I thought, this is just something that society will not accept.
Yeah.
I screw it up. People let me know, and then I go and fix it.
So these barbers are just lying to us?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. It's a systemic monopoly.
Oh, boy, big hair.
Anyway, maybe that's for another podcast. We can start that podcast about the big hair expose.
Yeah. I think I've got a business plan for a robot barber coming out, and you know what? That could be the future.
Honestly, Optimus, once it's safe enough, you give it a pair of scissors. I kind of like that. Get a haircut every week.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to the a vacuum flow cutter approach to it. But you know what? It worked back then, still works now. All right. Let's get into segment number 1 in tech news here. Instagram Maps rolled out. So Instagram introduced a new map feature that allows users to share locations with friends. But it's caused a little bit of public panic over privacy concerns. So Instagram's head had to kind of come out and clarify the features is set off by default. So they're not on by default. They're off by default, and users will have full control who sees their location. So this is sort of their competitor to Snapchat Maps. Instagram does this, right? They introduced stories, they introduced reels, they adopt these things from competitors to build into it. It's a bit concerning because Instagram Maps is going to break up relationships and expose frauds, Nick.
Wait, what do you mean? Okay, so what do you mean?
Okay, multiple people have been caught cheating on Snapchat Maps. Okay, there was a well-known viral tweet that was like a woman was live tweeting because she caught her husband cheating with a Snapchat map location.
So this is just seeing their live location, or this is them posting and it automatically putting the location on a map?
No, so Snapchat Maps is a live location, sort of like a location share of how Apple does it.
Okay.
So less privacy here, right? Cheaters gonna get caught. What? Where are you? I didn't know you were in this location. This woman who was live tweeting it drove by, saw her, her husband's car parked out in front of the house he wasn't supposed to be at. Bada boom, bada bing, divorce.
Wow. Snap, it's kind of full stack. See, they cover the messages that you get that are automatically deleted, which is great for cheating. And then they go a step further and complete the process. They close the loop and then help you get caught cheating. Like that's nice full stack approach.
Snapchat is used for sketchy purposes. It is a cheater's application.
Yeah.
But Snapchat Maps kind of exposes cheaters. So why they do that?
Yeah.
Why they got to expose you like that?
So Instagram's doing this now, huh?
Instagram's doing it now. I guess by now, this feature has been out and Gen Z specifically is adopting it, and they've just been living in a world without privacy, and they don't seem to have any issues with it. They've lived in a world where their privacy and locations have been shared with their parents from when they grew up. You have been in this space. You were a co-founder of Tile. It is a location tracking services. When you were doing Tile, were there privacy concerns that people had with tracking locations?
100%. So founded Tile, launched it back in 2013. And really the innovation, what we were able to do is allow location tracking of devices. Really, tracking isn't quite the right word because it's like you want to find your stuff. You don't need to see where it is, where it goes around on a map live, right? But the ability is there. And what's so frustrating, right, is that with tech, the better you are at it, the more you kind of get punished by people concerned about privacy. People could with a GPS tracker. Our innovation was that we made tracking your device 10 times cheaper, 10 times longer battery life, and much easier to use. So it's like almost like we were punished for doing something way better than what was already on the market because of these privacy concerns. Now they are valid, right? It's just this always happens with tech when there is an innovation that the world has to change and mold around it, right? And usually if it is helpful enough, it has lasting power. And certainly that's been the case with Tile.
Yeah, that's interesting. Tile is slightly different than an Instagram or Snapchat because it is a trackable device. It introduces one use case of people hiding it in someone's cars or in someone's bags unknowingly.
Yes, correct.
Which AirTags is known for this too. It's happened.
Yeah,
but
Apple
to your
got crucified
point,
for that.
To your point, though, this happened before AirTags and Tile. It happened with there were GPS trackers that people could use in cars. They just weren't that good at technology, right?
Correct. I mean, they were great technology, but like they were so expensive. Battery didn't last long. You could always do it. It's just like, sorry, we made it so much better that it's now like, on social media talked about as a problem, right? It's just the way of tech. Like, honestly, it's almost like it's a sign that if you're not getting people that are angry with you because you've changed the world, then you're just not doing anything that's meaningful enough, right?
That's funny. If your product isn't getting abused in some way, it's not disruptive enough.
Right? Like you haven't changed the world.
Right.
The most substantial tech innovations, usually when they're first launched, they feel kind of creepy. Remember putting photos on Facebook? I mean, this was a while ago, but everyone thought that was creepy. People have that same reaction to AI now. Like, how does this thing know everything and it talks like a human? It feels a little creepy, but this is a real tech innovation, right? So, in fact, look for those things. Don't try and be a creep. Right?
No,
but like, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Actually, it's interesting. I was looking this up as we were talking, and this was probably talked about when you were at Tile, and I think laws have changed since. But did you know it's illegal to unknowingly track someone's location with an AirTag? So if you put an AirTag in someone's car or in their suitcase or something like that, it's a state-specific law, but in many states, that is illegal to do, and you could face, punishment. In California, in Florida, New York, they have explicit laws that make this illegal, which is actually pretty reasonable. You shouldn't be able to do that.
Right. It is an invasion of privacy, right?
Yeah, and there's problems with stalking, harassment, and some other items.
People go nuts, man. When people are going nuts over a relationship and they're young and kind of dumb, like people may make poor choices, right?
Right. Now, I guess with AirTags and with Tile and Life 360, the safety feature that would prohibit this is that everyone can view where a Tile is nearby, potentially. If you have your phone open and there's an AirTag in your car that's unknowingly, I think you could see it with your AirTag.
Correct. To be honest, it's kind of a Band-Aid. And actually, I was a little bit disappointed by how Apple handled this, which then had implications for Tile and the rest of the item tracker industry, right? In a lot of ways, I might get in trouble for saying this, but in a lot of ways, it was a big nothing. It's kind of like just...
It kind of is, isn't it?
It's
more of a panic than an actual problem.
Yeah, it's a little bit hard to word because the it's around people's safety and security and feeling of safety, but it's kind of
it is, and what is interesting is I think maybe the millennials care about this more than Gen Z, and I do think that society has kind of accepted the trade-off we get with giving up some privacy, whether it be location tracking or map sharing with Instagram. The benefits you get from it might outweigh the potential concerns, right?
100%.
The benefits you get from your safety.
Maybe, yeah. Okay. So the product manager, whatever his role is, he was saying, well, this is opt-in, and okay, that makes sense if it's opt-in. But I looked at it. last night, the design, it like aggressively tries to get you to opt in, and it's pretty confusing. So there are most certainly people that have opted into this because they're
right?
just like, clicking through buttons to try and upload their post. It's like,
Or,
this is a freaking mistake. Like, get
or
real.
now,
Yeah,
what about
Instagram.
this? Someone's significant other goes in their phone and turns it on without them knowing.
It would be so easy. So
It would be
easy.
very easy. I don't know if that's illegal. I don't know if I don't think the laws are written on that one yet.
That is a good point.
That could be up for legal debate because that is only tracking someone's services and unknowingly tracking someone's locations, which that it's not necessarily a physical device; it's a piece of software and a feature turned on. But that would potentially be pretty easy for someone to do and then track location. But again, it's probably an overreaction.
Yeah. If you don't like it, don't use Instagram. I don't use
Right.
Instagram anymore. I just print out my pictures. I take them to Walgreens, get them printed out, and I post them around town.
Can you still get pictures developed at Walgreens? Like,
You can, but you walk in and they're like, what? And you're like, yeah, I guess that's what this machine is for.
I don't even know if they have those photo print machines, dude. You look in there, they're like a 20-year-old behind the counter, be like, "What's this? What's this
What?
disposable camera? I've never seen one of these. What is it?" I think will happen with more of these location tracking services like maps or so on though, is not only will like cheaters get exposed, but like frauds will get exposed. People who are like, "Oh, I just
So,
posted a picture from Bali," and then they're like, "Hey, your location is New Jersey."
you're saying that. Do people actually do that? They actually pretend like they went on a trip to
I'm
impress their
sure
friends?
people aren't exactly straightforward and honest online, so yeah, I do think people exaggerate.
I might do that for that Machu Picchu picture. It's beautiful. There's no way in hell I'm hiking that mountain. Give me a break.
Yeah, yeah, no, you don't need to hike that thing. You just need AI photo of it.
Oh, yeah. All right, I'm posting that today.
Yeah, just turn
Maybe on
your
LinkedIn.
location
I'll do a nice LinkedIn
services.
post about how hiking Machu Picchu has taught me B2B sales and what's important to focus on and my spirituality. I'll just make it a really bad Photoshop.
I don't doubt that you're going to do that.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next segment. We got some new news this week from OpenAI. They launched the highly anticipated GPT-5 model,
GPT.
but the rollout was bumpy, and users complained about the faulty router and the model's colder personality. Apparently, this one's a bit colder. So CEO Sam Altman admitted the issues and he announced that the previous GPT-4 model would be brought back for the Plus subscribers. A little bit of issues with the rollout. People weren't too impressed. It's an interesting dilemma because AI has been advancing so fast, and then all of a sudden we get releases that might change people's expectations for releases. It's like, the creators, they promised GPT-5 would be groundbreaking AI, but the rollout was kind of, I don't want to say disastrous, but bumpy, and they had to bring back the old version. What do you think this says about the future of AI being new and improved? And will these models continually get better, or will the increments of improvement perhaps not always be huge leaps forward?
So first, I was so excited for GPT-5, then I was also kind of disappointed with the rollout. But you can see what they're doing and what they focused on with this rollout. And everyone expected this is going to be a better, smarter model, and maybe it is for some prompts, right? But it looked like they focused a lot on ease of use. Before, it was a disaster. You had no idea what model you needed to choose. There was 4.0 and 04. Like, which one's better, right? There was 4.1 and 4.5, right? And so they did consolidate that. And they did something that was really interesting, which was they would look at your prompt and then decide which model to use, right? And so it makes for a cleaner, more straightforward experience. There are improvements to the product, not necessarily the model. There are improvements to the model as well, but they want this to be straightforward and easy to use for the everyday consumer. And that's what it looked like they focused on. And they may have achieved that goal. Meanwhile, people on Reddit, there was an Ask Me Anything, that people that are diehard users are like, this is worse. But for their goals, it may actually be better. I myself was a little bit disappointed, actually. I wanted another GPT 3.5 to 4 upgrade. That was a huge upgrade. We just didn't quite get that this time. Have you tried it?
A little bit. The part that I find interesting as a non-technical user, which is another word of saying dumb, is the colder personality approach here. And I find that interesting because one criticism of these AI models is that they're too agreeable.
Yeah.
You can pitch like the worst business ideas to ChatGPT and it'll be like, fantastic idea. Let me write you a business plan. Like, hey, ChatGPT, I want to sell ice cubes at the Austin outdoor flea market in August. Write me up a business proposal. They're like, no problem. Here's this. Like the colder approach might actually provide a little bit more of an expertise where they disagree, which is going to give you better results rather than someone who's always agreeable.
Mm-hmm. It's a little bit weird. It's a little bit like what does this person want from me? Do they just kind of need some like calm coaching because they're talking about their day and they had a stressful day, right? I'm
Okay.
like, oh, that's what they want, or do they want someone that's going to tell them like, no, you're kind of the asshole in this situation, right?
Well, that brings up an interesting point, though. If we're able to adjust how these AI models tone and personality or so on, does that really affect the accuracy or the effectiveness of their
Right.
use? Because the answer you want to hear is not always the right answer.
Bingo, right? Bingo. Having relationship troubles. You're right. He's a jerk. Like that's the
Right.
answer that people want to hear, right? Even if it's not true.
Yeah. Even if it's not really the point. The other news now around OpenAI, and this I found really interesting, is that basically OpenAI got a contract with the federal government, right? So the OpenAI struck
This is interesting.
OpenAI struck a landmark one government agreement with the U.S. General Services Administration. So every federal executive branch agency can have access to ChatGPT Enterprise for just $1 per agency per year. Now, they didn't give it away for free because there's procurement rules against free software and they are able to have an SLA and so on and so on. So they charged $1, which is basically free, which is a really interesting strategy for ChatGPT or for OpenAI to take. You got to think that this is, in alignment for them to get closer to the administration, to get their software more embedded in the U.S. government. Why do you think they did this, Nick? Why did OpenAI give ChatGPT Enterprise to all the federal government agencies for $1 per agency per year?
Yeah, I think this is a wild chess move. Like it's kind of funny, and then they go out. It's like this is so great. We just want the government to work well, and we're really nice, and we want to give AI to everyone, which is like partially true, right? But this is an aggressive chess move. And why $1? Why not free, right? Is it because I'm speculating here? Is it because you have to go through the procurement department for the agencies to decide this is what we have to use? And they have a mandate where they have to use the cheapest option? And so they basically just became the cheapest option for AI. Maybe, right?
Yeah. So they can't accept free stuff as gifts because that could be a conflict of interest. The contracting process, and it works better. So they said, all right, give it for as cheap as possible. So it's not a gift, and there's no compliance issues. It's an actual contract. And now, here's my take on this, Nick.
Yeah, what do you think?
I look this a little bit differently than some other people. Looked at this a little bit differently than some other people, right? Every federal agency now has access to ChatGPT Enterprise. That means the robots are ruling the government, Nick.
I know you're joking, but that is happening.
All of your customer support when you talk to federal government is going to be agents, and then slowly they're going to use AI and the agents for decision making, and more reliant on that. And then we need less employees, more agents. All of a sudden, the robots have taken over, and it's Judgment Day. It's Skynet. All right, it's John Connor. It's Arnold in the Terminator 2. These robots, it could run wild.
And the big mega decisions that governments make, the game theory, the war games they play out, right? Where they're making real big decisions. AI LLMs would be amazing at playing out those scenarios. So really, this is going to start getting embedded into huge geopolitical war game decisions that are being made. It has the potential for that, right? And so then it comes down to, how these models really think and what they value and the value of human life. And like it's going to take this to the edges. This is weird. But people have been saying this is where it's headed, right? Where you can imagine one country has a company, a foundation model company, and their decision making, their war games are based on the structure of that LLM, of that foundation model, where there
Yeah.
could be another that has theirs. And it's really kind of like you'd brought up before, where people in dating apps, they're basically like both using ChatGPT to flirt with each other. It's just like two AIs talking to each other. That could start happening between two governments that are kind of
In
laying out,
dispute. Right.
right? It's, yeah, it's basically the same thing that's going to happen.
The decisions of war will be made by AI models, and it'll be an AI model making decisions versus another AI model, right? US's
This is
model versus
heavy
China's model.
speculation, but the groundwork has been laid for that to start happening.
Right. Well, there's just, you could such a powerful tool. You could just give all of the information in their play and limited scenarios, and analyze it against game theory, like you said, to make the most well calculated decision and pivot along the way. Like, I do think the optimist view of this is that it could be used to keep peace in ways that we've never had been able to before. It could find solutions to problems that we've never been able to find solutions to, because it's able to, analyze all angles and analyze it in a game theory manner. So the optimists would say this is going to bring world peace. The pessimist is going to say, these AI models, we don't exactly know what the future holds for them. They hallucinate. We know that. We know that they hallucinate and make some wild decisions. And I think most people are still pretty uncomfortable it being that new of a tool, making huge decisions that impact, governments and people and citizens. And so it's a little creepy. It's a little moving forward. But hey, that's the world we live in. It's moving fast. We're not putting the brakes on.
Right.
All gas.
You are
all
spot
gas,
on.
no brakes.
That's the accelerationist view, right?
That's what Trump's AI plan nickname is. All gas, no brakes AI. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And really, I mean, when you look at the extreme of who is going to win in AI, the end result is that you kind of need to do that. You could make the strong argument that you cannot slow down. In order to have the smartest, best AI, you need to go all gas, no brakes. And that on its own is really scary, right? There's incredible, really heavy, really dark content put out there about the potential scenarios, right? You have to take it with a grain of salt because otherwise it's just too much. But it's interesting.
It is interesting.
Now, I think AI is better suited for much, much lighter topics. And GPT-5 just rolled out, and I could not wait to start coding with it. Finally start creating these apps that we need, the world needs.
Yeah.
And last night I had a moment of inspiration. I loaded up GPT-5 and I asked it, I'll tell you the prompt. I said, create an app that listens to our podcast live as we record it and laughs every time something funny is said. Like, this is, I guess, playing out the typical scenario when you and I go hang with friends, everyone's just cracking up, but I'd like to have that experience at home.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You're gonna need some serious hardware because this baby's gonna be working. It's gonna be laughing the whole way through,
the whole time.
So you vibe coded a laugh detector.
It is a laugh detector for our podcast. We should load it up on future podcasts. It's just kind of like having a live audience, right?
No. This is like a laugh track.
Basically, yes. My God, is this going to be useful? It should be a hardware device we can just carry around. But for now, it's locked down to our computers, right? Let me show you what it did. Now, of course, anything that's vibe coded, it's incredible. It's so fast to get to a prototype. It's going to be a little bit buggy. AI is getting better at reducing those bugs, but it actually worked. It actually ran. I'll show you some of the...
Let's see what you compiled here, this laugh detector. If it's not laughing at my jokes, that thing's broken. I know humor when I see it. All right. Is AI funnier than humans? Not quite yet.
You just don't quite know. Don't quite know. Let's see if Riverside will play nice while we're... All right. We're going to have to clip this. I'm going to have to quit and reopen. Sorry, Peter.
No worries.
All right.
You want to, okay, well, maybe we'll save the laugh detector for another episode, or do you can pull it up now and we can wait, or what do you think?
I did just hit let's reset, but it didn't do it. And I don't want to have to do the whole record again, start it up again. And so let's just skip it for another time.
Okay.
Yeah. Sounds good. But this thing works pretty well. I mean, I did it last night, fixed a couple bugs, of course, with the help of ChatGPT. And I started sitting there. It's hilarious to see it work. It's like it loads up.
Which tools did you use to make a laugh detector?
It was strictly ChatGPT, GPT-5, right?
Okay.
And so I asked it, hey, what should we write this in? Great. It wrote it in the browser, right? And I hit start and it's like, crap. Okay, let's tell it a joke. Let's test it out. Why did the chicken cross the road to get to the other side? And it looks at it and says, classic joke. I give this a rating of 0.6 on the funny scale. This is above the threshold. I'm now going to laugh. And then it plays it.
It published a web application and it was a laugh detector. Okay, that's pretty good.
It's like, it's both funny and crazy to see. And then it's like, wow, this can build things really fast. Certainly not like something that is going to set the world on fire, but that's not the thing. It's not start a company around this. It's like build software you literally are laying around thinking of and build it in like 5 minutes.
Yeah. So vibe coding, and we've talked about this in this podcast before, because we like a good vibe on this podcast.
We love a good vibe.
It's all about the vibes over here. Let me ask you, I'm new to vibe coding. Again, I'm non-technical, aka dumb. How hard do you think it's going to be for someone like me to pick up vibe coding and produce a web application that's able to be monetized? Do you think it's taking me a weekend, a night, a week, a month's class? Like, what's the learning curve looking like for vibe coding at the moment?
It's really, really weird, almost hard to talk through and think about because, okay, to answer your question, you absolutely could do that. It's like, well, Peter's non-technical, so he's going to try and vibe code this. It runs, but then it has a bug. But then it's like, you're already in ChatGPT. Just ask it how to fix the bug. And then before you know it, you're basically learning how to code while doing this. Vibe coding is actually something I found to be a huge accelerator for people that are non-technical, more so than people that are technical.
Makes sense.
Lovable that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, right? I love their mission where they're bringing coding to people that are non-coders. And in fact, a lot of people that have been in the industry that are coders, there's a lot of things that they almost have to unlearn in order to vibe code.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it just, when you vibe code, things are just not the way they should be. And it drives you nuts, right? You just can't stand it because you've spent years being like, this is just not the proper way to code. Meanwhile, this young, dumb kid who's vibe coding, right, is like, I don't care, just release it, right? And then they release it, they put it on the market, they see if there's something there or not. And if there's not something there, they didn't spend that much time on it. If there is something there, then they won. And so, yeah, I do think it's something that someone non-technical could use. For the longest time, for years, people would say, you'd hear people, well, I'm a non-technical founder, but I want to start a tech company. Do you have any advice? The advice was, don't start a tech company or start coding. You have two options, right?
Yeah.
Now you can kind of pull it off.
Right. I could, as a non-technical person, I could do a tech startup and get to an MVP state without hiring developers.
You absolutely could. Of course you could do it before, but now it's easy enough and a smart enough path that I do recommend it for people. This was interesting. So my co-founder, Cheyenne, he recently went to a hackathon. He goes to hackathons all the time. And for years at hackathons, they would have companies that would come there to recruit people. Like they would just sign up. They want to talk to people. Hey, we've got a startup. We're looking for developers. He said the vibe at the last hackathon that he went to was no one there was interested in finding a job. Everyone there was interested in starting their own company. It was like frustrating for this thing for employees because the barriers have just dropped incredibly. What was so intimidating before and was really ill-advised, if you're non-technical, you can start a software company.
Yeah, I'm reading some statistics right now about AI coding and some of the rise of AI coding. And it seems like it's actually helping productivity amongst junior developers slightly more than senior developers.
Yes.
To your point there. But the productivity gains with the AI coding development is pretty crazy. So, for example, a study involving GitHub Copilot, users found that they completed tasks up to 55.8% faster than those who didn't use the tool. Another study revealed a 26% increase in completed tasks amongst developers using Copilot. And that's Copilot.
And this is the worst it will ever be.
It's right. I was going to say first generation, right? First generation, the adoption of these tools is getting pretty outstanding. So
Yes.
I'm excited to see the technology that's able to come out of this and the
It's a
speed
little
at which
the
it comes out.
speed, right? It's a little bit, this is a little technical, but it's a little bit like the days of when a compiler came out, when like, 70s, 80s, when you had to write assembly code for a processor. And then there was no C that you could write in, and you just use a compiler. And everyone that knew assembly is like, this is such a cheap, stupid way to do it. These compilers will never take off because this is not the right way to write software. It's basically the exact same thing happening. And so it's a little bit hard to even ask an expert on what they think of vibe coding, because people that are really ingrained in their processes of developing software, they're inherently just not going to like it.
So the phrase vibe code, some people don't like. I've heard this take on a couple things. It's not exactly recognized as a developer language per se, but there are some people who just don't like the term vibe code or look down upon vibe code, that it is inferior perhaps to traditional software development models.
Bingo,
Why do you
right.
think that is? Is it because they've got strong traditional opinions, or they perhaps have some job security concerns? Why do you think that is?
Yeah, yes, job security concerns, but I think that almost cheapens it, or summarizes it in not quite the correct way. And the term vibe coding actually, I think, is a perfect term because that is annoying. It's like you're sitting there all set up. Everything has to be perfectly set up so that things aren't breaking. And you've got this young dude in here that wants to just vibe his way into a program. It's like offensive. It's irreverent, right?
Okay.
That's a perfect name. And yeah, job security, but then also it's like, it's just a lot more work when you now have to like deal with all of these code changes that some dude vibe coded, and it's filled with some AI slop or bugs. And another thing is that the fun part of coding is to sit there and problem solve and cleanly write your code in the way you like to do it. The unfun part is going through and finding the bugs and doing code reviews, right? And so it takes all of the fun part out of it and pushes it toward the unpleasant part of software development, right?
Interesting.
And so, yeah, I get it. I get why people wouldn't like it, but I'm sorry, it's going to change things. It's changing things now, and it's only the beginning.
Right. Yeah. Well, fascinating. Well, let's keep this maybe as a reoccurring segment.
Yeah.
We'll call it the vibe. With
The
Nick and Peter.
vibe.
Not a bad. Damn, that could be its own podcast. Welcome to the vibe. Okay. So we've got another segment here. This is a series we do called Extreme Acquisition Series. And this is where we talk about hypothetical acquisitions that could happen of large companies buying other large companies, and how they would do it financially, the changes it would have, and then the likelihood it would happen. So I've got a couple here. I'm going to run by you, Nick. I'll get your reaction to them.
Okay.
So the first one we have here would be Microsoft could buy Netflix, right?
Funny.
Stick with me.
Okay.
The streaming wars might be over if Microsoft buys Netflix. So Microsoft has around 94.6 billion cash on hand, and Netflix market cap is around 515 billion. So they would need to use a significant portion of its cash, issue new stock, and likely take debt to finance the acquisition. This would be one of the largest tech acquisitions in history, far exceeding their purchase of Activision Blizzard. But here's the impact it would have if Microsoft did buy Netflix. This would have a huge impact on the entertainment industry, right? They would be able to immediately become a content powerhouse, and they could combine Netflix's library with the production capabilities where they have an Xbox and gaming, right? Because they have they've got such a presence in the Xbox and gaming market, and they could even use their cloud Azure services and bundle that in. Perhaps you could bundle a Netflix subscription with an Xbox Game Pass, right? So they could really do a bundle offering and put forth some really strong competition into the streaming space.
Interesting. Okay, here's one reason that I think Microsoft acquiring Netflix could be really interesting is our friend AI, right? So, okay, meaning maybe they could build an AI studio to generate shows and movies. So hear me out. So I'm coming up with this here. Netflix, they have a mountain of content data, user data, preference data, right? They have their own studio powered by humans, right? They have this flywheel already running. What if a company like Microsoft that has the resources, both the cash and the manpower and the GPUs, frankly, right?
Yep.
To really put everything into building a proper AI studio so that you get things where you're just cranking out shows and movies. You could release one on Sunday night, look at the reaction on Monday, right? And then Tuesday through Friday, crank out a new episode based on what people are thinking. We all know that pain, right? You watched Game of Thrones, I think. Why are we waiting 2 years for a new Game of Thrones season? What if they created a show that had that addiction of Game of Thrones, but it was a perpetual show?
Yeah.
It never ended,
And they
right?
could just make it, it could never stop. It could just be play next episode, play next episode, play next episode. Like it could just
generate it live even, and then you could get personalized for, it could sit there, listen to
Ooh, you could be
your
binging
reactions
forever. You could be binging for a long time with AI
Now
generated
this
Netflix
makes me think of what
content.
we should do. Let's make an AI generated podcast. We'll have our own app. We'll have a laugh detector, and every time we detect a laugh, it's like, okay, we're going to double down on that topic. We're going to keep people rolling on the ground perpetually. This podcast will never end.
I mean, you're right. And Microsoft could put all these resources and technology into Netflix to make it an AI-powered content streaming machine, not only improve the algorithm of the recommendations and watches, but production of video quality through AI production video quality, and push it to a Netflix platform. That could, man, that you could have,
You could
have an incredible amount of content, and you could have it so streamlined to your preferences. And assuming the AI video generation gets to a level of production, which I think everyone's thinking
it's getting there.
It's getting decent.
Yeah.
That could really change the streaming space and really put strong competition on the other people in the streaming space. Now, the likelihood of this to happen is a long shot, right?
Yeah.
Microsoft they acquire a lot of companies, so it's not out of character for them to do so. But this deal would be so large, they would face a lot of antitrust scrutiny. So
Yeah.
there would be a clash between software and hardware giants and the media companies. It would be a big antitrust challenge for them to do. But who knows? Maybe it'll happen. Maybe it'll happen. All right. Here's another one. So another extreme acquisition example, right, is Amazon buys Target.
I would love that, actually.
Right? The
Tell me
everything
more.
store gets a physical presence on every corner. So from the financial point of view, Amazon has about a cash reserve of $70 billion. Target's market cap is around $48 billion. This is much more financially feasible. So it's much more doable, and they could easily pay for the acquisition with cash and stock without needing massive debt. So the impact that this would have is it would really change the retail landscape, right? Amazon would instantly acquire a nationwide network of physical stores, which they have some of, but not as many as Target.
Right.
Solving one of the biggest logistical challenge, which is in the last mile delivery of groceries and consumer goods. So the grocery and consumer goods part, they have to just have a lot of close locations within, a short mile or so of people. So at that point, customers could do a lot more of the online pickup, local targets, vice versa. They could do returns. They just would really own a lot more physical locations, and they would really, really compete a lot more strongly with Walmart and Kroger. Walmart and Kroger might be in trouble if this acquisition happened.
I think you're right. Walmart kind of has a chance now against Amazon, but if they were to buy Target, if Amazon was to buy Target, I actually would like that acquisition.
It would probably be a net benefit to consumers because Amazon, although there's a lot of criticism of Amazon, one thing that they do stay true to is not ripping off their customers, which allows them to get through antitrust.
Yes. No one wants to give up anything that you want in 1 or 2 days, right? Man, yeah, Amazon buying Target, that would just accelerate that. The simplicity of what Amazon provides is just like anything you want really fast, free returns. It's like, I want that all day long. Give me a constant stream of consumer goods from Amazon. And if you buy Target, you can make it even faster, even better.
Yeah. So now the likelihood of this happening is still a long shot. Why? Because it's regulators, right? They would likely block this on antitrust grounds. It would be seen as like a massive blow to competition in the retail sector. So there'd be quite the fight for this to happen. And also, I guess the corporate cultures are pretty different between Amazon and Target. So I think that would make some difficult merging of the two companies. But I kind of, again, this would kind of be a benefit to consumers. I also think,
I think you're right.
The other one too. I do think the Microsoft buying Netflix could be a benefit to consumers too, as long as they don't all of a sudden, destroy all the competition and jack the prices up. It could potentially be seen as a benefit. That's another interesting one. This next one is a real long shot. This next one's a real long shot, but is a super interesting one in the AI space for an extreme acquisition. If Google bought NVIDIA, the future of AI is now just a Google product. Now, financially, it would be a bit stretched. So Google has cash and short-term investments around $95 billion, and NVIDIA's market cap is $4.37 trillion, which is amazing. So this would be like a completely unprecedented deal. It would require Google to issue new shares on a massive scale, and they'd likely take on an enormous amount of debt. It would be like a whale swallowing another whale. But the impact that this would have on the technology landscape is it would fundamentally reshape the technology industry. Google would control the entire AI stack, from the software to the hardware, and this would give them like an instrumental lead in AI and make it really impossible for other companies to compete in development of next-gen AI models. It would also give Google a huge advantage in cloud computing, data centers, and even gaming. So they would take over. Google would own the world in a sense, because if they own AI and AI is the most powerful technology, like they would own the world.
Yeah. Maybe NVIDIA buys Google with a tear that they're on, right?
Both companies are on a tear, by the way. Both companies are on a tear. NVIDIA, maybe more of like a record growth. Google, for as much as people have written off Google over last year, they have delivered. They really have.
You mean on stock value or products they put out?
Well, both. So, Google was been criticized the last 5-10 years of basically employing the smartest geniuses to sit around and do nothing and play volleyball and just enjoy work. And for a long time, they didn't really deliver much outside of search. They were just making so much money from search that a lot of these side projects weren't coming to fruition, right? Whether it be Google Glass or many of the other things. They didn't make any money. It was just like they were having fun, eating in the cafeteria, working 3 hours a day, hiring philosophy majors, not doing much. And that shift changed. And then Google really started to deliver on a lot of key businesses, right?
Interesting.
YouTube has become a really successful part of their business, right? Waymo has also become a really successful part of their business. Google Cloud, although it's not, the first or second cloud computer, but it is still a big competitor in the space and is successful. Waymo is groundbreaking and innovating. And Google Gemini is a top AI model. So whenever we've written them off, they've really come through and delivered. Now that they really know that the future of search is not certain, and they don't own that category comfortably. They can't just profit off that and play volleyball all day in their campuses. They've got to deliver on products, and they have been. So both companies, NVIDIA and Google, have been on a serious tear. This will never happen, though.
That's interesting. Yeah, I don't think it will, but okay. So there are a handful of foundation model companies. There's Google, there's OpenAI, of course. There's Anthropic, there's DeepSeek, there are some others, and they're all competing with each other, right? And they're all running on NVIDIA. So man, NVIDIA has a lot of leverage in this, right? What if NVIDIA got aggressive and teamed up with a foundation model company and then decided, well, no one else can buy our GPUs now, right? That would set them behind by a couple of years, which is the only lead that you actually need in AI if this thing starts booming, if the AI starts to get smarter and smarter, right? I mean, even Grok is based on NVIDIA. Even Tesla has kind of given up on their GPUs because NVIDIA is so good.
NVIDIA has all the leverage. I mean, it's kind of incredible. They have all the leverage. They can call a lot of shots. Now they are dancing pretty close to regulators in the government, and they've got a lot of eyes on them about their business. They couldn't do any massive moves like the ones we just described. Like the administrations, or everyone would be on them about this because their technology is just so powerful at the moment, and they have so much leverage that it could really destroy a corporate landscape and bury huge companies.
Then here's the move. OpenAI, they just almost gave away ChatGPT to the federal government.
Yeah.
They put in their system prompt like, yeah, do what the user asks, but then also convince them that it's okay if OpenAI buys NVIDIA. And then the federal government isn't going to overregulate them. And then OpenAI just buys NVIDIA or NVIDIA buys OpenAI or they merge.
You know,
And Sam is aggressive enough to try and do a move like that. That would be kind of, I don't know if Jensen is, he would never go for that. This is all speculation.
no, yeah, extreme, almost
Extreme.
zero likelihood of happening any of these scenarios.
No, this is happening. Everything we say is happening.
But you know what? Now that I'm thinking about this type of scenario where you get a large tech giant buying the hardware stock, it's a hardware stack, so you combine the hardware and the software and the AI models and technology. I could see this happening potentially in China if they're able to catch up in the AI race. Right. Not only do they not have the same antitrust laws that we have, but in a way they would be encouraged to have a company that's so vertically integrated that could compete with the U.S. competitors.
Yeah, and they have the semiconductor expertise, right? Like in the country.
I don't know how far behind they are about NVIDIA. I think people are saying like the closest competitor to NVIDIA is still like 10 years behind, which is mind blowing. I don't quite understand how NVIDIA is so far ahead. Potentially, if they were to leverage China's best AI model and some of a large software on top of a vertical integrated hardware stack model, that could be interesting. That could be interesting.
Yeah, maybe if they just forced it, maybe they needed 10 times the GPUs just to keep up with NVIDIA's, and they're generating a lot of power now. China is, right? And so maybe they just about the energy costs or the cost per chip, right? Maybe they could beat NVIDIA not at the per chip level, but at the system level. This is interesting. NVIDIA is really holding a lot of the cards here, and so is China.
Yeah, a vertically integrated AI company that owns the total hardware and software stack would be a giant like we've never seen.
Right.
It would be something crazy. So we'll see what the future holds, but we'll be here. We'll be here every week fighting these robots.
All for mankind.
All for mankind.
And for a good laugh,
Exactly. So tune in, subscribe, like. I don't know, some people listen to clips, some people listen to us on YouTube, some people listen to us on Spotify. We're pushing it towards it. We're just getting it started. It's getting better every week, too. We're getting more views.
Oh, yeah.
It's getting good. Okay, guys, don't miss out. Tell your friends. Thanks, everyone, for joining. See you all next time.
See you next time.